Right, quite comprehensive, Sandeep. There, Deepak. Obviously, the technology that has been briefed, the requirements that are there. Sandeep, needless to say, technology is the need of the hour. But talking about the strategy, where it can be used best as of now, because these kind of submarines, obviously, the challenges that India faces are actually needed, much needed.
Absolutely, Pankaj. In fact, our experts have told us just the kind of threats that the Indian Navy faces. You have a two-front maritime front as well.
Exactly.
You have China on one side and Pakistan on the other. And China has actually transferred a whole lot of sensitive submarine technology to Pakistan.
Yes,
where they've started building the 8 Yuan class submarines, the Hangor class.
Right.
And by the end of this decade, it's quite possible that the Pakistan Navy could have as many conventional submarines as the Indian Navy. You can just imagine
for a country of that size,
having a dozen or more conventional submarines. That's a huge game changer for the Pakistan Navy. And at the same time, the Indian Navy has to reckon with the Chinese submarines being deployed frequently into the Indian Ocean region. Coming back to your question, where would these Indian submarines be deployed? Now, a lot of specs about these submarines are not being publicized for obvious reasons. But what we know, based on the experts that we've spoken to, is the fact that you're looking at a submarine that's literally double the size of the Scorpion class submarines. The air independent propulsion that Deepak mentioned, Captain Sharma mentioned, it's something that will give a conventional submarine the ability to stay submerged like a nuclear powered submarine. You know, you're talking of an underwater endurance of almost a month. And one of the regions that the Indian Navy wants to deploy its present and future conventional submarine force are the choke points into the Indian Ocean region, from where the Chinese submarines and their warships will enter the Indian Ocean region, right? And that's, so you're looking at the Malacca Straits, the Ombai-Vetar Straits, the Sunda Straits, the Lombok Straits. So in the future, an Indian submarine fleet would want to be deployed in all of these choke points and prevent Chinese warships from entering the Indian Ocean region, which is India's sphere of influence, right? The IOR, it's very critical for the Indian Ocean, for the Indian Navy to maintain its hold over the Indian Ocean region. And that's kind of where China is pushing the envelope. And submarines very clearly, Pankaj, given the proliferation of satellite technologies, and we've seen that going on with the Russia-Ukraine war. Anything that's on the surface is liable to be detected, targeted. And that is where the submarine is going to be a game changer in the oceans of the future of 2032 and 2035, when the first Project 75I submarines enter service. You're looking at an ocean which is going to be transformed with detection, surveillance capabilities and drones. And the best place to hide, Pankaj, is under the water.
Well, stealth is the key. Captain Sharma, you wanted to make a point. Please go ahead and also let us know that these acquisitions don't happen overnight. We saw this lovely piece of work, documentary, and your views also, lets us know that it's a time-taking process.
I just want to fill in the, the gap which Sandeep has very aptly brought out, that these boats cannot come overnight. But if you see the game plan of the government, the strategy planners, and the guys who are looking into the future, the way we have acquired the P8I, it's a long-range maritime reconnaissance anti-submarine warfare aircraft. And of course, that was manpower intensive. There is a lot of manual labor in that. And this visit of our Honorable Prime Minister, where we have signed the deal for the Sea Guardian. Now, this capability gap, which is existing, of course, numerically, we are a little, not in comparison to what our neighbors are. If they have a number of boats, and China, of course, has got in a couple of dozens. But we are plugging the gaps till the time we don't address this issue of having adequate number of boats. Now, in the kill chain, like it is basically a game of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. How good you are at it and how network-centric your warfare is and how informed you are. So India, knowing fully well that Project 75 India is a bit delayed, we have shifted our focus parallelly. Not that 75 India is being ignored, not at all, but we have gone in for the MQ-9Bs, that is the Sea Guardians, Sky Guardians, which will cover our area of interest very, very strongly. And when I say this, I'm, what I have been made to understand that the number of aircraft, that is the UAVs which are coming for Indian Navy, that is 15 and 16 for the Air Force and Army, which of course will be used by them. But to look at our area of interest, that is the Indian Ocean region from east coast of Africa till the Malacca. That is what we are more bothered about. And we know that our numbers in the boats are pretty, limited. And also we were discussing that where will the boats be deployed? Yes, they will be deployed at the choke points. They will be used for safeguarding our interests, that is my Bombay High or wherever the exploration is taking place, so that they should not be endangered. And some will be used for slot interdiction, that where the enemy is moving around. And of course, we discussed about how the CBG also has to be protected, but that will be the role of the SSNs who have got adequate speed. So talking about all that, we are plugging all the holes. Yes, there is a problem. The Indian Ocean region is now, being infested by their assets, by the assets from China. They came here in 2008, 2006 in the garb of anti-piracy operations, and now you see they have a 24/7 presence in these waters. So whether it is, mapping our mapping the seabed, or they are looking at our salinity of the water, so that in the adverse times, or when the balloon goes up or whatever, they can use their boats, but they need to have that data. And that is why they are always here in, a 24/7, 365 days, some boat, some asset or something is there. So we are looking after that. Now, at least we are assured that none of their activity is going undetected. That is, I can guarantee you. The moment they leave South China Sea, we know it, whether it is Mumbai Vatar, whether it is Lombok, whether it is Sunda, whether it is Malacca, or whether they are coming from the other side of Australia.
Right.
Any entrance into IOR is detected, and thereafter it is being shadowed. So, insofar as their presence is concerned, we know it. But yes, it is a challenge. And that is why this government has given due importance to the aviation branch, where we have got adequate number of PATIs, and soon we will have the Sea Guardians, so that the whole kill chain and the ISR capability is not found wanting.
Right. Captain Sharma, obviously stay with us. Deepak, talking about geostrategy, and I believe geopolitics also goes hand in hand. China having acquired a port in, say, Sri Lanka at Hambantota. Then there is a port called Gwadar in Pakistan. Now, looking at these movements, obviously it is being camouflaged for civic use, for common people's use, for domestic use. But do you believe that India at this point of time needs to be very cautious and wary of these developments as well?
I think we already are. If you look at defense establishment in India, we've been acutely aware of the changing scenarios in the Indian Ocean region. And we've been making our own efforts. Now, what Sir has mentioned earlier is that it'll take until 2032 for the first of the submarines to come in.
Right.
And that is actually just in, at the right time, because at least for the next 8-10 years, even Pakistan won't have its submarines, the modern ones. And most of those submarines that China does possess as of now are conventional submarines, which have, limitations. While they do have long legs, just traversing and patrolling is one thing and fighting is quite another.
Right.
So we have that 8-10 years of a window right now. India is making very positive efforts towards that, and on multiple fronts. In fact, if you talk about geostrategy, it's often said that China's advances in eastern Ladakh are actually supposed to divert us from, focusing on the Navy and focusing on the waters. So that's something that India is looking into.